Ancient records describe 400,000 men buried alive in a single afternoon. Entire cities erased from existence. Sources often exaggerate, but even conservative estimates are staggering. These are the most brutal commanders of the ancient world. Coming in at number 6, Arminius, a Germanic chieftain and former Roman auxiliary officer. 9 AD. The Teutoburg Forest. Arminius didn't just defeat 3 Roman legions, he annihilated them. 20,000 Roman soldiers marched into the forests of Germania. Arminius, who had served in the Roman military and knew their tactics intimately, lured them into a trap that lasted 3 days. The Romans were slaughtered in narrow forest paths where their formations meant nothing. Survivors were captured and subjected to ritualistic torture. According to Roman writers, officers were burned alive in wicker cages as offerings to Germanic gods. Centurions were crucified on trees. The legionary standards, Rome's most sacred military symbols, were taken as trophies. The massacre was so complete that Rome never again attempted to permanently conquer Germania beyond the Rhine. Emperor Augustus allegedly wandered his palace for months afterward, crying, "Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions." The man who knew every Roman tactic had just used them to destroy Rome. At number 5, Alexander the Great, Macedonian king who conquered the known world by age 30. When the island city of Tyre refused Alexander entry to their temple in 332 BC, he laid siege for 7 months. He built a causeway across half a mile of open water, stone by stone. Week after week, the Tyrians fought desperately, using fire ships and modified catapults. When Alexander's forces finally breached the walls, his men were exhausted and enraged. 8,000 Tyrians were massacred in the streets. Alexander then ordered the execution of 2,000 surviving men, who were crucified along the beach as a calculated warning to other cities. 30,000 women and children were sold into slavery. A year earlier, the Greek city of Thebes had rebelled against Macedonian rule. Alexander's response was total. The city was razed to the ground, every building demolished. 30,000 Thebans who survived the fighting were sold into slavery. The message to other Greek cities was clear: submit or be erased from existence. Alexander could be merciful to enemies who surrendered quickly, but those who resisted faced systematic destruction. Number 4, Ashoka the Great, Indian emperor of the Mauryan dynasty. 261 BC, the Kalinga War. Kalinga was a prosperous independent kingdom on India's east coast, controlling crucial trade routes. When Kalinga's king refused to submit to Mauryan authority, Ashoka led a massive army to the region. The battle near the Daya River was catastrophic. 100,000 Kalingan soldiers were killed. 150,000 more were captured as prisoners, most dying in captivity. Modern estimates put total casualties at 250,000 lives. Ancient records claim the Daya River ran red with blood for days. Archaeological evidence suggests mass casualties on a staggering scale. But here's what makes Ashoka unique among brutal conquerors. The carnage broke him. Standing on the battlefield, surrounded by the dead and dying, Ashoka was overcome with remorse. What followed was unprecedented. He renounced violence, converted to Buddhism, and spent the remaining 40 years of his reign promoting peace and moral governance. His rock edicts, still visible across India today, record his transformation. After the Kalingans had been conquered, the beloved of the gods came to feel a strong inclination towards the Dharma, a love for the Dharma. The only war in history where the victor threw down his sword. At number 3, Hannibal Barca, Carthaginian general and sworn enemy of Rome from childhood. In December 218 BC at the Trebia River, Hannibal lured a Roman army into an ambush. 20,000 to 30,000 Romans died. 6 months later at Lake Trasimene, he orchestrated what historians call the greatest ambush in history. Hannibal hid his entire army in the hills overlooking the lake, waiting in morning fog. The Romans marched directly into the trap. 15,000 killed, 15,000 captured, an entire Roman army swallowed and destroyed. But Cannae, August 2nd, 216 BC. This was Hannibal's masterpiece. 86,000 Romans faced 50,000 Carthaginians. The Romans, confident in their numerical superiority, packed their infantry tight for a crushing frontal assault. Hannibal deliberately weakened his center and reinforced his flanks. As the Romans pushed forward, his line bent backward in a crescent. The Romans thought they were winning. Then Hannibal's cavalry routed the Roman horsemen and swept behind the Roman lines. His flanks closed like a vice. The Romans were completely surrounded, packed so tightly they couldn't raise their weapons. For hours, Carthaginian soldiers simply butchered trapped men. 50,000 to 70,000 Romans died in a single afternoon. More Romans killed in one day than Americans lost in the entire Vietnam War. Hannibal occupied Italy for 16 years, devastating the countryside and breaking Rome's alliance system. Landing at number 2, Julius Caesar, Roman general and future dictator. From 58 to 50 BC, Caesar waged a systematic campaign of conquest across what is now France, Belgium, and Switzerland. 8 years of relentless warfare. His own writings, the Commentary de Bello Gallico, document the carnage, though modern historians consider them propaganda. Caesar claimed his legions fought 300 battles, destroyed 800 settlements, killed 1 million Gauls, and enslaved another million. Even accounting for Roman exaggeration, the scale was staggering. Out of an estimated 6 million Gauls, modern scholars estimate 16 to 25% became casualties, a higher percentage than Germany or the Soviet Union suffered in World War II. Caesar didn't just wage war against armies. He waged war against entire populations. Villages burned, crops destroyed, forests systematically felled to build siege works and deny enemies shelter. Populations driven from their homes in winter to freeze or starve. When Germanic tribes crossed the Rhine, Caesar massacred them wholesale, including women and children. Some Roman senators called for his prosecution for war crimes. At the siege of Uxellodunum, after the city surrendered, Caesar didn't execute the defenders. He cut off their hands and sent them throughout Gaul, walking advertisements that resistance was futile. And here's what historians don't emphasize enough. The Gallic Wars weren't fought for Roman security. Caesar himself admits he fought primarily to pay his debts and advance his political career. What modern scholars would now classify as genocidal warfare, Caesar called conquest. The wars made him the most powerful man in Rome. They also made him one of the wealthiest, paid for in Gallic blood and Gallic slaves. And your number 1 most brutal commander of the ancient world, Bai Qi. Qin dynasty general, known in Chinese history as the God of Killing. 293 BC, Battle of Yike. 240,000 enemy soldiers killed. 273 BC, Huaiyang. 150,000 troops massacred, their bodies thrown into a river. 272 BC, 130,000 Wei soldiers killed at a besieged fortress, and another 20,000 Zhao troops drowned. But these were preludes to Chengping. 260 BC, the state of Zhao sent 450,000 soldiers to stop Qin expansion. For 3 years, the brilliant Zhou general Lian Po held defensive positions, refusing to be drawn into disadvantageous battles. Bai Qi couldn't break him, so he turned to psychological warfare. Qin agents spread rumors in Zhou's capital that their king feared Lian Po was secretly negotiating with Qin, and that only the aggressive general Zhao Kuo could win quickly. The Zhao king, manipulated by false intelligence and frustrated by the stalemate, replaced his competent general with an inexperienced commander. Exactly what Bai Qi wanted. Zhao Kuo attacked. Bai Qi's forces feigned retreat, luring the Zhao army forward. Then he cut their supply lines and encircled them completely. For 46 days, the Zhao army starved on a hillside, eating their horses, then their leather armor, then the dead. When they finally surrendered, Bai Qi faced a logistical problem. 400,000 prisoners. Too many to feed. Too dangerous to release. They might rearm and fight again. His solution was calculated. Bury them alive. All of them. He spared 240 young boys to return home and spread the terror. Chinese historical records document this. Archaeological excavations at Changping continue to unearth mass graves. During the Tang dynasty, 8 centuries later, Emperor Xuanzong built a temple over a collection of skeletal remains. Local people still find bones after heavy rains. Bai Qi's career body count, approximately 890,000, killed across 2 decades of warfare, nearly 1 million lives. The Qin king eventually forced him to commit suicide, fearing his growing power. Even he recognized the horror of what he'd done. His last words, "I deserve this tragic ending after having killed so many people." No other commander in the ancient world comes close to Bai Qi's systematic, calculated brutality. 6 commanders. 6 men who shaped empires through blood. Arminius destroyed legions. Alexander razed cities. Ashoka renounced after slaughter. Hannibal perfected annihilation. Caesar conquered millions. Bai Qi buried them alive. These aren't the most celebrated names. They're not comfortable stories, but they are some of the most brutal commanders of the ancient world. Like and subscribe for more deep dives into ancient history. Comment below, who would you rank differently and why? Argue with facts, not feelings. See you in the next one.